Someone see and tell if it's working. Hello, check, check.
Yeah, it's
Yes,
on.
yes.
Can you
It's
hear
working.
me
It's
on
working.
the stream? Not on the meet, on the
Okay.
stream.
Give
It's
me a
there, it's
second.
there.
Also, send link. I'll send it over.
Link, someone send the
I'll
link.
send that. I'll send that. Yeah, don't worry.
Okay, I'm going to mute and go AFK if it stops working. Sucks.
ठीक है.
Turn off laptop sleep before you go.
And change the tab.
Also,
Tab is,
send.
yeah, on the meet only. I'll turn off the laptop sleep. If you need something urgently, then just call me on my phone.
Yeah, right.
Hello, can you hear me? Hello. Okay, so good evening, everyone. LCRC welcomes you to today's talk on SIP in electronics. Our seniors who bring a blend of academic excellence, practical industry experience, and strong leadership skills will be sharing their insights and solving your queries regarding the same. So first we have Ronak Sanpui and Palak Bhandari. They both pursued EC at BITS Goa and are interning as analog interns at Texas Instruments. Ronak has also been an influential leader on the campus, serving as ex-coordinator of DOMAC, ex-secretary of the EC department, and he is currently a SEM1 placement coordinator. Palak has demonstrated exceptional leadership skills as the ex-coordinator of SARC. Ronak and Palak, we welcome you to the panel. The stage is all yours.
Hey Twisha, thanks. Is Palak in the meet yet? I think Palak left the meet and will be rejoining. I'll just wait for her because she'll have to present this game.
Ronak, I think Palak is here.
Yeah. Palak, you can start. We can see your screen.
Okay, fine. Uh, okay, hello guys. I did not know it started. I was in a different link. Okay, so I'll start talking about the preparation, I think. So, firstly, this is how the whole structure is prepared for the analog part, which is first we'll talk a little bit about ourselves. I will touch upon the courses to prepare, and Ronak will further take it up, specifically on resume building and the materials and the resources from where we did it. So I would give a bit of a background for myself. I am a dualite, and dualites generally don't do SIP. But I think SIP is a good opportunity for a lot of people, and regardless of what I think you would believe, especially if your CG is not really on the greater side, because these days, a lot of times PS has like very random companies. Don't quote me on that, but they have like different capacity. Sometimes they take, sometimes they don't take, so it's very up in the air, especially if you are someone whose CG is below 8. So SIP is a very, very good way for anyone to have that surety that okay, you would get a good company. Okay, so yeah, I am a dualite, and I had my branch was EC and bio. And when I applied, my CG was around 7.7. So I was on the edge that if PS means TI does come, I might get it, I might not get it. And as it turns out, this year PS, a lot of people even at 7.8 did not get TI. So I would say that like look at last year's statistics, regardless of if you're a single degree or a dualite, and then go for things. Okay, so I'll touch upon the courses to prepare and how like I went about things. So the first thing I do is I'll tell you all is educate yourself about why do you want to do your SIP, and talk to seniors, talk to different seniors about what all companies come, because every year it differs. As much as I know, NVIDIA and TI are people who are fixed, but it really depends. And talking to seniors would really help you. So for like the analog part, I would say electronic devices, again, important, but it's not something that I was personally questioned a lot upon. But the doping questions, and I think if few of you guys have already done ED, that's something that does come. I was not really great at ED, but it's not really that hard. Like the questions in ED are not really in that depth. What is important is MUI. MUI, they are looking for a very deep understanding of your concepts, because they would give you a lot of questions which are like they have concepts of MUI, and they also have like concepts which are, let's say, signals and systems, which I would touch upon later. And there would be a combination of things that you have studied. It's not that difficult, but I'm just saying that you need to understand like the very basics of things. And if you understand the basics, then like nothing like it. The way like it was for me was that a lot of times the interviewers, like the question in front of you would be a complex one. Like you would see that, okay, there are like 3 different approaches to it. Talk to your interviewer, talk to him, tell him that, okay, I see that, okay, maybe you have used like I can see that this has a certain gain, or I can see that, okay, this part is like you're testing something, and over here you're doing something else, right? There is always a combination of few different things that generally happens in, like, I was asked 5 questions and 4 of them were combinations of different topics, and all of them involved MUI. So I would say focus on MUI. Then there were frequency domain questions. This is something that would come later on in control systems. Bode plots again. And signals and systems, this is important for anyone who is in EC regardless. So I think that you should do it very well. Not my favorite subject, but it's important. Op-amps, this is a part of analog electronics, which is there as a 3rd year CDC. And so this hasn't been really taught before SIP starts, but you need to do it like by yourself. I refer to a lot of YouTube videos for it, which Ronak will cover what all to, like, where all you can do it from. But focus more on op-amps. BJT is not so much just the basic formulas, very, very basic formulas. Digital design, they generally stick to asking for like the digital interviews, but they can also test your knowledge. Like a lot of times they can ask like a MOSFET question that would have like a very basic like AND gate or gate, NOT gate kind of logic that would also be there. So there can be like a combination of all of those things that can be asked. And so like keep those basic things in mind, that whenever you're preparing for anything, have the understanding that, okay, my notes and my concepts need to be like crystal clear. Start from like the ground zero about how you want to approach it. Write like the most basic things. Like I had like a notebook which I made, which I wrote like every topic, and every day, like I not do a lot, but it was like for 2 months, and the last month especially, I used to revise that notebook every day before like I sit to solve any. About solving, I would say that please refer to like the previous questions. So I personally referred, there's a drive of IIT Bombay, ask any of your friend who is in IIT Bombay. They have a drive of all of the companies, electronics companies. So there's ARM, there's Nvidia, there's TI. There are a lot of companies that don't even come in bits, but their questions are there, and you solve those questions, right? And you would kind of understand what are the kind of questions that they ask. So this is not specific to interview, but this is more in terms of like the first round. But they in the drive they also have like the reviews where they have written what kind of interview questions were asked for IITB specifically. But that's helpful for you also because you kind of understand that okay, these, like for example TI asks these certain type of questions. Like they also have this one thing which I would recommend so much, is that just before if you're shortlisted for like the interview, this you would get a live link that TI sends, and that would contain all of the prep material for TI. And in that, they have an example question kind of thing. So I solved those questions a day before my interview. And one question that I got in the interview was a mixture of a question that was there in their drive. And so they really liked the fact that I had like already done that and I kind of knew my way around it. And please keep talking to the interviewer. Like that is the one main thing I would say, because I don't think that they expect you to solve that thing, and they don't expect you to reach the solution. They only want to understand how are you approaching the problem. This is not like the exams you give. This is not the electronics that agar final answer galat kiya to pura marks gaya. It's not like that. But you need the approach right. So Ronak, I would like for you to start from here.
Yeah, Palak, just move on to the next slide. There is one very important course that you people might not really consider or give importance to. That is electrical sciences. So this is not exactly the electrical sciences that you were taught in your first year. It is that, but you'll also have some things coming in from later courses such as consys. I think most of the students, I mean, most of the people over here will have been done with it too. So this is something that I'll ask you to revisit once you're done revising most of your courses. So one thing you can do is make use of Champion Sir's playlist. He used to teach in BITS Goa, and that playlist on basic electrical sciences, that is the most in depth you can go in electrical sciences. Not everything is expected from that, but if you have gone through and done it, your preparation with regards to electrical sciences is basically done. So keep this in mind. Electrical sciences is not exactly the same thing as first year. You'll have, like, I think in your first year you would be given formulas that you can't really make a sense out of. Once you start relating it to consys, SAS, and other topics, even ED to some extent, uh, electrical sciences makes a lot more sense, and you'll get that intuitive feel. One thing that I'll suggest is going into the interview, don't sit and try mugging up formulas. It's not as if it's a closed book exam or anything. uh, in your interview, you'll sort of, even if there's a formula that is required, you need to explain how it's coming. Like, for example, I was asked about voltage building in a capacitor, and they did not expect me to know the formula. And for some reason, I did not remember the formula on the spot, but they asked me to sit and derive it. So it is something very intuitive. This playlist is highly recommended. It will help you understand and get that feel about everything you do. It's sort of a final thing, wrap up everything, understand everything, sort of a thing. So this is something pretty important. Palak, can you go to the next slide? Yeah. So materials. So materials, basically you have access to a lot of materials, and it's pretty scattered. So one thing that you'll have to do once you're done with your prep, or I suggest before you start your prep, is gather the materials that you actually require. One thing that is the most crucial will be the courses that are taught. This will be the basis. You need to get familiar with what was taught in your classes, what was taught in your courses. Our coursework is very nice with regards to what is actually asked in the companies. It's not asked in the same way as they ask in your midterms or compres, but the topics that are taught will be very helpful. Now, I'm not saying that if someone has not gone to classes or something, you're gonna not get an SIP, but go through the courses that have been taught, whatever resources you have. Maybe you've made notes, maybe you have your friends' notes, maybe you have recordings. Go through with them, go through them, and make sure that you know what's taught, especially in the courses that Palak has mentioned already. Apart from that, you have unlimited access to whatever you want on YouTube. This is something I used to a great advantage when I was preparing for my SIP because for some reason it just, at least personally for me, it makes it a lot easier when I learn from YouTube. You'll have various profs from various colleges teach it in a different manner. Uh, some things, like one thing that I recommended for ES was Champions playlist. Apart from that, there is one playlist by this person called Himanshu Agarwal. He's actually a TI employee, and he has a channel with a wide range of playlists. That is something you can look at. It's something that helped me. I don't know if people have gone through this, but this is something that helped me. Apart from that, you can always check out playlists for topics that you're uncomfortable in. With that regard, YouTube is very helpful. The placement unit preparation material, there's something I used. There was a drive link that was shared to us with previous important topics or a question bank. Yeah. So, Palak, you can go to the next slide. Resume building, this is something regardless of your domain, regardless of whether you want to go into analog or digital or electronics as a whole, you need to have a very on point, good resume, and that will help you stand out during your interviews. Make sure to put emphasis on the courses you've taken. I'm not going to ask you to list down every single course that you've taken. You don't have to start all the way from M1, M2, M3, and go on. List the courses that your role requires. For analog, you can list the courses that we mentioned prior. And make sure to mention these because the interviewer needs to know what you've done. Because these interviewers go to many colleges, they want to know what you've studied. You don't have to put analog electronics or something just because they expect you to know op amps. In the interview, you can tell them, be very open to your interviewer and talk to them as if it's someone you know. Talk to them and tell them that analog electronics is something we'll be doing later on, but op amps is something that I've covered. This is something I've used in the interview. I've said this and they were very impressed with that I actually took the effort to learn something that's not been taught in college yet. And one thing that you'll have to make sure is be thorough with everything you write in your resume. Please do not write anything that you're not very well aware of. I don't think you people had MUPI projects, but I think a lot of people face this issue in our year. They wrote down MUPI projects as a project in their resume when they didn't really know what happened in that project. So whatever you're mentioning in your resume, the interviewer has the right to question you on it. So be very thorough with what you write. If you write a project, write to the extent that you know about it. Don't go beyond and don't just mention fancy words that the interviewer might question you on. Yeah, you didn't have a MUPI project. I think our year had a MUPI project. Can anyone let me know if you had any other projects in courses? Anything that you've had so far in any course? I don't think your batch has had any, but please, yeah. So even if you're doing okay SOP especially, if you're doing an SOP, only write to the extent that you know. Don't write fancy words because once the interviewer starts questioning about your SOP and comes across that word, he'll expect you to know everything about it. Otherwise, if you don't know anything about it, that basically means that the project is just for the sake of filling your resume. So whatever project you've done, know about it. It's fine if you don't have anything fancy to write, it's fine. But don't unnecessarily write things that the interviewer might grill you upon. And yeah, so the last point, describe your projects in an impactful way. Divide it into bullet points. This is again, it's up to you however you want to write it. I suggest putting it in bullet points because it makes it easier to read. And the interviewer sort of will get impressed and will sort of understand before questioning you on what exactly the project was. Yeah, Palak, you can go to the next slide. Fine. I'll speak something about my experience in the SLP. This is something many people ask about what exactly we are doing, what exactly the work culture is like. So I am a part of the INT ISO AC design. So that's basically interface isolation. Interface is basically any medium between two devices isolate. So being a part of the design team, most of my work is done over Cadence Virtuoso. I think almost done with the second year has a very good experience with Cadence Virtuoso. You people have used it in your MUI labs. I know it has a bit of a sophisticated UI UX, but still, it is a very useful tool. It is a very powerful tool. You will have organizations using it everywhere. There's a reason why there's such emphasis on the software in our coursework, and the same is put in even in companies like TI. So knowing the software helped me quite a bit. Most of my work is done on that. I run simulations every hour of the day. So theoretically, it's a bit heavy, and I use Cadence to simulate. Work culture wise, corporate is very good. They've been very nice to us. I'm pretty sure Palak would also agree. It's pretty much it's a freedom you get, and at the same time they expect the work to be done. This is not your usual. You have a deadline for this eval. You can't pull off all nighters, especially to complete things. You're given your free time. You can do whatever whenever you want to do it, but you have to make sure that the work is done. Palak, if you wanna share your experience.
Yeah. So I am working in the voltage translators department. So again, it's under ASC design. I'm part of the validation team. So okay, so when you join corporate, you kind of need to understand whatever you're doing, but it's not really something you need to know up right now. But most of the things that you have done till now are very irrelevant because they would teach you and they would want things because they have their different systems that would need a very different understanding of things. So as an intern, most of the times either you need to like learn a lot of things, like for example, let's say if you're a design intern, or let's say like uh, you are doing something on their product, it would take a lot of time to first learn and adjust to what they want and expect from you, and then you would be able to deliver. I would agree with Ronak that the work culture, at least in TI, is amazing. The work-life balance is pretty good, and yeah, you have the flexibility to work wherever you want, whenever you want. Yeah, like the work would depend from team to team as much as how, like in terms of how taxing it is, but overall I think the learning would be good, like the learning curve is good. Also, to add to another point Ronak made, Himanshu Agarwal, I would say, is a must for anyone if they are interested in analog. I personally did all of his videos. I'm not suggesting that if you don't do it, you won't get it. I was just, a bit more panicked. But yeah, like he also has these question solving kind of things. Again, one of his videos, which I think he was solving these questions with another guy. Uh, in that, he solved a couple of questions, which were very helpful for me in terms of even in the interview, as well as the first round. I had my notes in front of me when like not during the interview, but like just before it, I had my notes in front of me and I was like revising all of the things, like the questions. And I remember like a question asked was like really similar to what he had given in one of his videos. So you like I would say Chembia and Himanshu Agarwal are two musts if you want to do. They are a bit lengthier, but if you do them and if you do only them, it there's a good chance that you are doing it right, like you have it all done. So yeah, this is something I would like to add. So thank you.
Uh, they were in the end, right? I think.
Yeah, there'll be a Q&A session. You complete your presentation first.
Yeah, it's okay, we'll answer it in the chat, it's fine.
We'll keep answering in the chat. Palak, can you go to the next slide?
Yeah.
I think we are done. Yeah. So we are done. That was us working at TI as analog interns. You can feel free to reach out to us for any help. I know quite a few have been reaching out to me via text, and it's not possible for me to answer everyone. In case something happens, feel free to directly give a call in case I miss the text. Apart from that, yeah, that's it from our end.
All right. Thank you so much, Ronak and Palak. That was really insightful. Up next, we have Ishan Gokhale and Yashi Malik. Ishan pursues his electronics and communication engineering at BITS Goa and is currently serving as a digital intern at Texas Instruments. He also held the role of electronics head at the Electronics and Robotics Club, which showcases his leadership and technical expertise in the field. Yashi pursued electrical and electronics at BITS Goa and is currently a digital intern at NVIDIA. She also serves as a coordinator in the placement unit, which demonstrates her dedication to both her academic and professional growth. Ishan and Yashi, the stage is all yours.
Hello everyone, I'm Yashi. I'm a third year, like fourth year student in Triple and I'm currently interning at NVIDIA. So I'll present my screen. Yeah, so this is the flow of the presentation. We'll basically talk about the topics that you need to be preparing, then a couple of links that would help you to brush up your topics by solving relevant questions. And then Ishan would take up on resume building, interview tips, and then we'll share our experience. So coming to the courses to prepare, we have digital design and Verilog, which is the most important. Like for TI and NVIDIA both, they ask the majority of questions that are asked are from digital design and Verilog. So focus on that. To read about, to get your basics sorted, you can go and read Morris Mano. I wouldn't suggest really watching Nesso Academy videos, binging them a lot, uh, because that kills your intuitive uh, thinking, I guess. I would suggest that you should read the book and get your basics clear. Then you can refer to Chip Verify for Verilog. So I'm assuming that Anita Mulli took digital design for you, and Verilog wasn't really covered in the course. So you need to put in a little extra efforts for Verilog, especially if you are very new to the language. Then I would recommend you to watch some NPTEL videos. There is this one IIT Kharagpur's Indraneel Sen Gupta, who has explained Verilog. It's a 8-week thing, but then it's very basic, and you can like watch it at 2x or something, and then go to Chip Verify, read about the structure, how to go about the language, and then basically practice. You need to practice Verilog after you're done about it. So there is a so try to solve those questions like daily, let's say 5-10 problems every day. That would get your basics clear at least. And while you're reading about like the digital design concepts, the most important ones being combinational circuits, sequential circuits, FSMs, which is these are the standard topics that are asked. So I would suggest you to like just don't read Morris Mano and then be like happy about it. Solve some gate 1 markers so that you have a hang of what is actually asked and stuff. Then computer architecture. So I don't think TI really ask questions from memories, cache, etc. But then NVIDIA and even Google Hardware has come for you guys. So Google Hardware, these people have a dedicated section for some concepts of Compark. And Anupama ma'am did not take Compark for you, so I'm not sure if memories was covered for you. But then you can look through Nesso Academy's videos, like COA videos, because you just need the basics to be in place. So for these topics, memories, cache, SRAM, DRAM, and all. Then other than that, STA, static timing analysis, which is covered in ADVD. It is very important because most of the interviews you will be asked a question on STA. Sometimes in the tests too, like in Google Hardware tests, they ask STA questions. So STA is very important. To begin STA, reading about it, I would suggest read VLSI Expert. There's a site. Read their blogs, but they might be a little complex in the beginning. So you can go through Yash Jain's videos to like understand the basics. It's like a 40-50 minutes playlist. You'll get to know what STA is and then maybe read the VLSI Expert thing. Then C programming is important for interviews, NVIDIA interview, then Google Hardware has a section on C programming. So try to brush up your concepts on C programming, whatever you did in first year, pointers, like the basics, and some algorithms like sorting, searching algorithms. You should go through them. So I used Abdul Bari's playlist to basically go through these beginning algorithms, and you can use Geeks for Geeks for practice. Other than this, I would also like to highlight the importance of the aptitude section. Some people who prepared with me, they were thorough with their digital concepts and everything, still did not get shortlisted because aptitude is a section in Texas Instruments, especially. It takes up a lot of time, and there are like more question in less time for aptitude. So it is like highly recommended that you solve questions for aptitudes, like time your practice sessions. Yeah, then you'll be good to go. Like questions on work and time, some basic aptitude questions, like basically an NTSE kind of aptitude questions. I'll go on to the resources that you can be using. So how I did it was I had an off PS in Siri, so I did not have much time to prepare. Maybe you guys have a month now until like TI comes. So it roughly took me a month to ramp up my um, preparation basically. So you can start with this week-wise plan that PU provides. It has some links. It gives you a structured way to basically start your preparation. Then there is another, this one, question bank, which again is designed by some of the seniors. I started my preparation with the question bank. It has like 3 question bank design. I did that in the last basically 2-3 weeks, and it has solutions. It tells you where you actually lag in a particular um, topic. And yeah, I mean, there I mentioned like SRAM, DRAM, and all. These topics are not really easily available on YouTube and all. So I would suggest you to like explore thoda. There are YouTube channels like Branch Education, which has animated videos, like which shows each and every bit going into the system, how actually memories work, how actually things work in a hardware scenario. So I would like, I mean, it is good if you explore on yourself. And yeah, before you go for an interview, have a basic idea of what your company does, what are the roles that it has to offer. Try to get a basic feel of what you're actually signing up for before you go. That's very good before an interview. For these resources, you can quickly scan this QR. I've put all the links in this, and yeah, you can start your preparation basically. Ishan, would you want to add anything on the preparation part that I?
Yeah. Am I audible?
Yeah.
Yeah. So elaborating on the point that you mentioned over intuition, I believe it's very important for you to develop an intuition of whatever it is you're preparing, be it analog, digital, Like if you're preparing for IT development intuition for that as well, I'd say although I suppose no many of you aren't preparing. I mean, very few of you are also checking that out as an option. But anyway, so because if I were to give uh, oh, okay, so if I were to give an example of myself itself, I haven't had the most excellent of academic records. I mean, I'm still barely a 7 pointer. I wasn't even a 7 pointer when I got the actual offer in hand. But then what happened was I got lucky with a couple of projects that I got to pursue for ERC, particularly my favorite computer project that helped me develop an intuition. And my biggest highlight for my SIP prep would probably be sitting in my room after my PS1 was over watching Electro Boom videos. And for those of you who don't know, Electro Boom isn't an educational YouTuber. He's this quirky little guy who electrocutes himself 10 times by accident while playing with circuits. But that, for some reason, developed a sort of intuition about electronic circuits in general with me. I also played with these a little, as in on paper, not actually, other than the empty computer. But yeah, I mean, that really helped me get on the idea of how electronics in general works. So maybe if you have this like idea in your brain, maybe something pops up like, oh, how can I do this with a bunch of ICs? Maybe just try to draw a diagram, write a very long code. I hope you guys have some Linux software installed on your machines during like the DD course. So I presume you'd be able to do that. But if not, I mean, ICs are available for dirt cheap on the website. You can on websites, so you can basically just order those as well. Maybe do something regarding that. And yeah, I mean, it helps a lot, not just from a future academic standpoint, but also from a placement standpoint. And anywhere where you go for work in the future, you need to develop some sort of a deeper understanding. Uh, what is suggested? I'll answer your question later, maybe once I'm done. So, Yashi, if you want, could you just answer in the chat box? Okay. Moving on to the yeah. Okay. Moving on to the next slide. Resume building. So I believe Ronak has covered most of how you are supposed to build your resume. So I'll give a few general pointers here and there. Now, look, from the looks of it, it may look a bit contradictory to what Ronak mentioned, but yeah, both of those can be done at the same time. I mean, so firstly, what is your resume? It would be, you can think of your resume as a business card for recruiters. So you give your resume to your recruiter. The recruiter has barely enough time to take a glance at it and just absorb all the important relevant information, and then either shortlist you for an interview if you have a resume shortlisting after the test, or not shortlist you for it. So a resume really needs to be concise. So I mean, you need to be aware of what you want to apply for, which direction you want to go in with regards to your summer internships, like IT, electronics, whatever. I mean, analog, digital, signal processing, and yeah, basically that's know your goal. And next, moving on, we need to tailor our resume to the profile we are applying for. So this relates to the previous point, where now that you know what you want to pursue in terms of your SIP, you need to tailor your resume specifically for that. So for instance, if I'm applying for a digital SIP, putting in courses that would say have yeah, basically yes, and okay, where was I? The tailoring part. So moving on, we need to so now that we know where we want to go, we need to tailor it. So for instance, if you want a digital loan, putting a course that covers powers kind of seems pointless. Like it just adds on to the clutter that there might be in the resume. And then yeah, keep it short and sweet. For you guys, it should ideally be one page now. As I previously mentioned, the recruiter rarely has enough time to take a glance at your resume, absorb all the important points, because they have like what 200, 300 other resumes they have to check within the day. So yeah, maybe if it's too long, then the recruiter might not even bother looking at your resume and might just say nah, hatao ise. And avoid cluttering your resume with irrelevant information. Yes, again relates back to the point I previously mentioned. There, you don't need to put any sort of irrelevant information. So, for instance, extracurriculars. Maybe you can put in 1 or 2 extracurricular activities wherein that displays how good of a team worker you are or how good of leadership skills you have. But honestly, more than that, you don't really need to throw everything you have in your everything that you have done into your resume, basically, because then the reviewer doesn't have time to read all of that. So yeah, and avoid white spaces. Again, since the recruiter is just looking at it, too many white spaces would maybe feel like, okay, this is an empty resume. I'm not saying don't properly space your whatever sections you have of your resume. So there should be a ideal space between your titles and your actual paragraphs or bullet points. But don't keep it so large that the resume looks a bit empty, or just don't use it as a filler if you don't have any much to write. And yeah, could you go to the next one, please? Yeah, going on to the interview tips. Again, most of these have been already told to you guys, but the first and foremost thing that you need to be consistent or clear with during your interviews is your fundamentals. Doesn't matter like what formula you know, again, answer is, or does this person know the correct answer? They just want to look at how you approach the question. Are you consistent? Do you have conceptual clarity? Are you thinking logically, basically? So it's important to think loudly as well. And by think loudly, I mean say everything that comes to your mind. I mean everything as in abhi recruiter ko गाली देना तो वो don't blurt that out. Although I believe none of you will, but if you have some thought like, okay, I'm kind of stuck here, then you can maybe say that out loud. Okay, I'm stuck here. Okay, I can maybe solve it like this. Maybe let's break this down into these many steps. Right. Before I move on, I'll just go a bit back and mention about the point where I told you to be clear with the basics. The interviewer will start with a very basic technical question. So for me, my first question for my interview was, what is a universal gate? Very basic technical question, and they slowly build upon that, increasing the difficulty with each step. That was basically how my interview went. So I had 10 questions. First question is what is a universal gate? Second question is related to the first. Third question is related to the second. Slightly difficult, and so on and so forth until my interview was over. Your approach matters more than the correct answer. I don't think I need to emphasize on this more. It has been emphasized on enough already that you need to be consistent with your approach. Interviewer will guide you in case you get stuck. So many a times what happens is we are not able to solve some questions. Maybe somewhere there is some part of the step where we kind of mess up, or maybe we don't know how to proceed forward. Let the interview know that. They'll guide you. They won't judge you negatively over because you weren't able to do that step. They'll approach everything. And letting the interviewer know that you are stuck lets the interviewer also better judge your thought process, better give you hints. So again, don't hesitate to ask for a hint and take light. So what do I mean by take light? I mean take light as in not, of course not कि भाई कुछ मत करो interview के लिए ऐसे ही जाओ, you're doing it, but as in when the time comes or when you actually have your interview, try to not stress over tiny things. Maybe do like whatever you feel that will calm you down. Maybe watch a comedy video, go out with your friends a little bit before, like once you're done setting up everything for the interview. Try doing something that will like lower your anxiety level, because the calmer, the better you'll be able to get the interview. The better you'll be able to get. Tension होगी फोकट की दिमाग पे, तो what happens is जो आता है वो भी आना बंद हो जाता है. So it's pretty crucial to stay calm. I think that's it. So could you go to the next slide, Yoshi? Yeah. So I'll narrate a bit about my experience. So I'm currently pursuing. I'm a digital engineer at TI, and I'm on the FPD Link team, which funnily enough is also a part of the analog signal chain. Ironic, because considering how I'm a digital intern, I'm getting something that's an analog signal chain. But that's the beauty of it. Like when you get to your workplace, right? These profiles or domains pretty much kind of get a bit blurry. The lines between analog and digital get blurry. I know people who are analog interns who are working with programmable logic devices. Sure, there's a part of analog in programmable logic devices, but there's a part of digital in them as well. So yeah, my work currently involves signal processing and particularly like modeling channel effects in the digital domain. And I mainly work with System Verilog, Unix, and MATLAB. Now, many of you might be thinking, "Oh, what is this System Verilog thing?" So, for like whoever gets TI, right, don't sweat it. System Verilog isn't that much different from the Verilog that you'll do in TI. So, it's pretty similar, maybe a few differences here and there, but other than the framework, pretty similar to Verilog. So yeah, maybe in the tests you may not be asked about Verilog, but at the same time, once you clear the process, once you get an offer in your hand, then Verilog becomes a very important part of like working. And MATLAB. Okay, what am I doing with MATLAB? Basically just mathematical modeling of noise signals, electrical noise, because sometimes you need to have a mathematical model in place before you can go to a hardware implementation. So basically for that I need MATLAB as well. So yeah, that's it from my side. Yoshi, if you would like to narrate your experience as well.
You have a question in the chat. Can you tell about
Uh,
briefly?
yeah. Just a minute. Okay. Depends on your. Could you briefly tell what is okay? So FPD link is a very high-speed serial communication protocol developed by TI. I mean, there is a link on the TI website itself which describes what it is. I mean, I have signed a non-disclosure agreement at the end, so I don't know how much I can tell you guys, but at the same time, yes, this is how much I can tell you. Yeah, so okay, I'll maybe you can just Google FPD link. Do we need to know any VHDL? No, Verilog is pretty much enough. VHDL, nobody works in VHDL unless you have to work with some sophisticated frameworks. And even if you do, by a very small chance that even if you have to work with VHDL, uh, you will be able to catch it up if you are good with Verilog. Yeah, and about the corporate culture, I think Ronak and Palak have mentioned enough about corporate culture. My experience has pretty much been the same. The work hours are very flexible. The team is very chill. I get to interact with a lot of like new people. The people are very friendly. They'll like try their best to help you out. And yeah, as long as you get the work done, nobody pretty much cares like what you're doing unless it's not a violation of their rules. Yeah, I'm. I think that was my experience. Yashi, would you like to talk about your experience?
Yeah. So I'm interning at NVIDIA in the PCI DV XTL team. DV is design verification. PCI is the peripheral typically like an interconnect protocol, like your USB cable that you use. So PCI helps you transfer data between a link partner. Link partner is the host complex, which is, let's say, for example, like the CPU, and the endpoint, which is, you can take an example of a GPU. So I work on the XTL layer. XTL is the transaction layer of PCI. It's a pretty universal protocol, not specific to NVIDIA, but the functions that we implement in it are NVIDIA specific. Know anything about System Verilog? I had to learn OOPS and System Verilog on the job, and it's pretty easy. You don't really need to, like in Google's this one. I read that you have to like some experiences are preferred or something. So take light on that. It's something that you would learn on the job. They give you time to ramp up to get on the same page as the team. And then I work on Perforce. Perforce is like Unix, but yeah, a little different. But then, and UVM is a universal verification methodology, which we use to create objects, classes, and System Verilog. And that is it. About the question in the chat, PS1, so I had worked on FPGAs in Siri Pelani, and I was asked what I do roughly, like what I did there, like how did I basically uh, implement those. Basically, that is too specific to the project. Whatever I had mentioned on my resume, they were asking about that. They were inquisitive about that in the NVIDIA interview. That was it, my side.
Next slide. So yeah, feel free to contact us if you need any other guidance or help regarding the process for SIPs. I'm again just like my situation has been pretty similar to my co-interns, so many people are reaching out to me. I usually try my best to answer as elaborately as possible, I believe. So yeah, feel free to reach out to us. These are our phone numbers. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ishan and Yashi. Now, you guys have been clearing out the doubts anyway, but if anyone has any more questions, you can put it up in the chat box and you guys can answer.
Yeah, so straight up, I see a question from Abhishek. Did your role as the electronics head play a role in your selection and your active participation in ERC? Okay, so my role as an electronics head, I don't know how much of a part it has played in getting me the SIP because I was barely asked anything about my resume. They just asked me an intro and they straight up started with the technical round. So I guess maybe not much. It's okay if you to not have a POR that says electronics head on in bold. So yeah, it's like I think for ERC itself, electronics head was introduced in our batch itself, so it wasn't like a title before that. Um, Point I'm trying to make is yeah, it was certainly a nice addition to my resume, but at the same time, it wasn't something that played a really big role in me getting the offer either.
Okay, I'll take up the question about if you should prepare for analog and digital both. So for the first gearing up. The last 2 weeks, I think I was studying for about like I was solving questions mainly. It's not something like, let's say if you have studied for JEE mains, and mainstay I think half of the time. Like it does not take a lot of your time if you just like I think I'll like really specify on what Yashi said, which is that solve the textbooks for digital especially because you if you spoil your knowledge if you're just like looking at the videos and yeah, so do that, and it doesn't take a lot of your time. It would be a bit more than if you're just spending on one subject, but it's better to have more options than to cut yourself, from options that you already don't know about.
I'll take up Gautam's question. Till what extent should I know op-amp? So, what they expect you to know is sort of the first 2-3 weeks of analog electronics. Topic-wise, it'll be starting like the basics of op-amp, the circuit diagram of an op-amp, and the last topic will be the summer integrator circuits. So you can look up any basic YouTube playlist. It'll follow the same flow because that is how you start with analog electronics. Uh, just remember the terms summer, integrator, differentiator. Knowing till here is quite a lot. They won't expect you to know further, and you can very clearly state in your interview if they ask further that we've not been taught this yet, but I know like I've done till this topic. So that is something you can be very open with your interviewer about. Apart from that, there was for analog. Is there anything other than DD on the digital side that you're supposed to prepare? See, you are not expected, like, you don't expect questions on digital, like DD, to be asked. But however, in my interview, it was a very basic MOSFET question. Ki if a MOSFET is turned on, if my VGS is greater than my VTH, then assume it to be a 1. Basically, assume it to be turned on. And then there was a circuit with a sort of 1 input, and they asked me to find the output of the circuit. So that was a very basic digital question. I did not really require any DD concepts. I just needed to know and NOR and NOT gates. So something like that. Apart from, I'll take up this next question if that's fine. Apart from electronics roles, did you guys prepare from IT on the side? Or no? For me, I realized from the very beginning that IT was not for me. It's not really something I enjoyed doing. I don't know about the others, but I'm not really that kind of a guy that enjoys coding, which is why I chose to take the electronics path. Is MUPE required? I'm assuming this is for analog. Can someone clear that? Whoever Arnav you've asked, can you clear that? for digital. Yeah, someone can take up from digital.
Uh, okay, so for like the MUPI, is MUPI required for digital? So it basically depends. For TI, you won't require MUPI much at all because like TI generally deals with signal processing and like analog ICs form 85% of their business and maybe embedded processors form 15%, but a bit of like the beginning of MUPI. So I'd say maybe up till how a basic processor architecture is. So you know that diagram where it is like you have the register, you have the ALU, you have all of that. That maybe that much is required, but other than that, for TI at least you don't require. Yashi can like take up the compar thing, or maybe the whether MUPI is required for NVIDIA.
Yeah, so MUPI is required for NVIDIA. I'll tell you the pattern of the paper. Even for Google hardware, I've seen the questions from that IIT Bombay drive. There is a dedicated section for MUPI. I would not say the whole of MUPI is required. As Ishan mentioned, the beginning part where registers, the processor, ALU, and these things, these are not relevant for the test, but it is relevant for the job. When you're reading the spec, when you're implementing your codes, you should have a basic understanding of how basically the processor works with the peripherals and stuff to understand what's written in the specification manuals, etc. But yes, MUPI ka memories part is very important for at least NVIDIA. There were a lot of questions asked from that. For Compark, I would say just do cache and memories. There is a playlist called COA by NESO Academy. You can watch the videos, you'll get a basic ideas. That guy has solved a couple of questions from those topics, and it would give you a much clearer idea about how to go about cache problems. And yeah, for MUPI it is that. And for the IT and electronics thing, I prepared for electronics. I did not prepare for analog as well because I had my offline PS, could not get time. But then it is recommended that you prepare for both analog and digital because the opportunities are already not much. You just, for us, we had just 2 companies coming. So yeah, it is better to keep your options open.
There is a question in the live stream from Rohan. Approximately how many companies visit for digital?
For our batch, there were 3 companies, one Texas Instruments. It came for 2 roles, which were related to digital. One is the embedded role and one is a digital design engineer role. And NVIDIA. And then towards the end of the season, there was this one Cisco hardware also came. So approximately you can assume maybe 3 companies come every year. And that has been a trend.
4 because you could like if you can add Google hardware into that, maybe 3 or 4. And for
Yeah, but
our batch, Qualcomm also didn't come, so I'm not aware exactly if Qualcomm is a consistently comes for hardware roles for SIP or not. But for us, at least Qualcomm hadn't come, so I think hopefully Qualcomm will come for you guys.
NVIDIA CG cutoff 8, yeah. It got reduced to some 7.9 something because our PS CGs were not out. Students got SIP in electronics, I guess 6. 4 in TI, 1 NVIDIA and 1 Cisco. About the IIT Bombay drive, if the coordinators, can you confirm if you guys are sharing the slides with these people?
Yeah, we'll be sharing the slides.
So I'll add the IIT Bombay Drive's link also in the slides. Overall level,
Just to add, the IIT Bombay drive is not accessible to everyone. So if you have any friends in IIT Bombay who could get you all the access to that, only then you can access it. So like I think that is an important point. So if someone can like transfer something from the drive to the Google Drive, that would be great. But as much as I know, right now it's not accessible to all.
The 2019 one is accessible. I'll share that link.
Acha, okay. I think I was accessing the other one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe.
okay.
Would anyone like to tell about the level of the written test?
I'll take this up. The overall level of the written test. Uh, See, you people have been giving your midterm, I mean, compres and quizzes. It's basically, it's not the extremely hard questions, but also it's not that easy. Like, you can't just mug up a formula and solve these questions. You'll have to think a bit. You'll have to get some sort of intuition. But overall, on a scale, it's you will be pretty used to doing the level of questions. Like, it won't come off as I've never done this at all. So don't worry about the overall level of the written test. You will get used to it. Just keep note that mugging up formulas or writing down formulas last minute and taking it to the hall, all this won't help you. You'll need to have your concepts and theories clear. Only then will you be able to have a good approach to it. Is the level similar to the mock test conducted by the PU, or will it be tougher than those? The mock tests conducted by the PU are sort of made with the help of alumni, so they have an idea of what is being asked, so you can expect something similar to it. The exact emphasis on what questions were asked in the PU mock test and the actual test won't be the same, but the level is something you can get an idea of. Cisco came in 3-2 as far as I remember. And I think, if I'm not wrong, there was a change in Cisco. In Cisco, they asked quite a lot from the ADVD digital concepts. So by then, most of the people had finished ADVD, and Cisco had put an emphasis on those concepts.
Yeah, I guess if there are no more questions, we can wrap up. Uh, there's one more question.
Yeah, so you
Okay.
have your CGPA being constantly updated. Like, if a company comes in 3.2, you can display your 3.2 CGPA. It's not like the PS system that was.
Okay, I guess we'll wrap up now. Thank you so much for attending today's talk and hope it was helpful. I wholeheartedly thank all of our seniors who took the time and effort to guide us. Have a great day. Thank you.